my name is Caitlin Wiley, and today I will be presenting you my persuasive speech for my public speaking class. What is a sport? A sport is an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or a team competes against another or others for entertainment. When you think of a sport, what comes to mind? To some, football and soccer, and to others, basketball and baseball. But what about cheerleading? Is cheerleading a sport? Well, if we were to decide if cheerleading was a sport based off of the simple definition I just gave you, then yes, cheerleading is a sport. But it's not that simple. People still like to argue and disagree with this fact and say that cheerleading is not a sport. So as a cheerleader myself, I am here today to tell you why cheerleading is a sport. So let's start off with physical exertion. When you picture an athlete, you imagine someone who is toned with abs and lots of muscles. And the reason why we think this is because this allows us to see what kind of time and effort they put forth into the sport that they participate in. As you see in the pictures I'm showing you now, these boys and girls fit the athletic stereotype. And guess what? They are all cheerleaders. Now the question is, how do these athletes gain muscles without participating in something that requires physical exertion? Well, the answer is they don't, because they are participating in something that requires a great amount of physical exertion. Cheerleaders are required to lift girls their weight or even heavier than them, to flip and spin and land back on their feet, and to do all of this while keeping a smile on their face whether something goes wrong or goes completely right. None of this is effortless, and the training that is required to do even the simplest of skills could take days and hours in the gym. So now on to our next topic, training.
Cheer consumes your life. I don't have a boyfriend because cheer is basically my relationship.
What you just saw was a clip from Awesomeness TV's web series Cheerleaders. Cheerleading is a sport with endless opportunities to grow and to prove that you are better than the rest. But with this comes an extreme amount of training. Now, some gyms don't train as much as others, but for cheerleaders, like the cheerleaders at AZ Power Cheer, they are required to attend 3 to 4 team practices a week that go on for hours, do individual training that is given to them by coaches, attend tumbling classes, and even do individual training that they give themselves to push themselves to receive the skills that they want. Now, you would never see a cheerleader sitting in front of a TV just watching it. Instead, you see them on the floor stretching, which will better them for their skills. Some may ask, what skills make cheerleading such a difficult sport? So I'm going to tell you a few. The first main part of cheerleading is tumbling. Now, some tumbling skills are very simple and can be done by people who have no background in cheerleading or gymnastics whatsoever. But then when you add in twists and combination passes, this is where things get a little bit tricky. For example, a full requires you to get high enough off the floor to straighten out your body, do a 360 twist, and land back on your feet. Sounds easy, right? Let's watch the progression videos while I was learning to get a full. As you see, I fell many times, and it took hours of gym time to be able to perfect this skill. And guess what? It's still not perfected. So as the skills get harder, your body control becomes more difficult. You have to learn how to control your body to be able to get you off the floor high enough to, at the right angle, use your muscles to get you around back on your feet or to spin you and things like that. Much like other athletes, we must learn what muscles we must use in order to be able to achieve what is required of us. The next major part of cheerleading is stunting. Now, a question that's asked at the gym a lot is, how much do you lift? And for cheerleaders, no, we don't lift weights, but we do lift something a little bit more valuable than that. We lift other human beings, people whose lives are dependent on us. And these humans can be 100 and some pounds, can be heavier than us, can be bigger than us, taller than us, all these different kind of things, but we have to learn the proper skill and technique so that we can get them up into the air. Now, we use similar technique to bodybuilders in this way because we have to know to use our legs properly, our arms properly, things like that. So that's another thing that makes cheerleading very difficult and similar to other sports, because we have to have great amounts of muscles to be able to perform the tasks that are put in front of us. With both tumbling and stunting being the major parts of cheerleading, there are bound to be a lot of incidents and injuries that happen. So let's talk data and stats. A new report has revealed that 66% of catastrophic sports-related injuries among women in the U.S. are due to cheerleading. but cheerleading continues to cause more serious and deadly injuries by far than any other female sport. Both of these sections were found in articles that explain that cheerleading is one of the most dangerous sports because of the things that are required of us to do. Both of these paragraphs were found in articles that explain that cheerleading was one of the most dangerous sports because of things that we were required to do. Now, on YouTube about a month ago, I did a questionnaire, and one of the questions was, what injuries have you received while cheerleading? And I got a lot of feedback on this and a lot of answers, but some of the most common ones were sprained ankles, torn ligaments in knees, concussions, and things like that. So these athletes put so much time into a sport that doesn't get the recognition that it deserves. We train just like any other athletes, we compete just like any other athletes, and we have to learn the proper technique and muscle memory and things like that just like any other athletes. So I believe that cheerleading is a sport and that others should see it as a sport, and that the old stereotype of cheerleaders just being the popular mean girls who would stand on the sideline and cheer should forever be forgotten. And with the new and upcoming cheerleading world, it should be reinvented into the sport that it is now. Thank you.